Welcome to Lightning Round of Show 9. So after getting a $6 billion offer from Google, which they turned down, Groupon decides to IPO for $25 billion. Turns out that won't happen. The most investors are willing to basically put up with valuation-wise is $3 to $5 billion. Forget whether they were stupid to accept or reject that. That's hindsight.
Right.
But more about the industry. Are daily deals like a Ponzi scheme? Or is it an actual industry? Just now that the fad and hype has moved on, you're going to see the real substance.
Well, I think we're going to start seeing the real substance. The industry is still really new. I know it exploded, but that bubble's popping. And I think we'll continue to have kind of daily deals. They might not be daily, but what they're going to look like will probably change a lot. The biggest challenge with daily deals is they don't actually generate the loyalty that I think merchants are looking for. Merchants end up losing a lot of money by giving away things at half off to people that never come back. It's going to be up to the merchants to decide whether or not something like that works for them. I wouldn't be surprised if you see something more along the lines of a self-serve platform, kind of like as a merchant, I log into Facebook advertising, and one of my advertising options is to do something, offer a daily deal to people within a certain geographic region that meet a certain demographic criteria that I think might actually turn into repeat customers. But in the current Groupon model, yeah, I don't think it's going to last much longer.
Tumblr raises $85 million. Is blogging dead? Is WordPress dead? It's obviously not dead, but I'm just saying, or is it just that Tumblr is the next thing? You know, you had everybody be enamored with blogging and WordPress, then it was Twitter, now it's sort of Tumblr. What's your take on that?
Well, I think the cool thing about Tumblr is it actually simplified blogging. If you take WordPress, the way you can use it right out of the box, it's almost like a miniature publishing machine right there. Tumblr is just for the average person. They just want to pump out content. Half of Tumblr is like softcore porn anyway. But WordPress still powers something like 22% of new sites.
Our blogs are on it, so that says it all right there. That's 20%.
The big question is, how's WordPress making money? They're making money off of like the WordPress.com stuff, not the WordPress downloads. So it's interesting to see how the WordPress.com has effectively marketed the thing that they do not make money off of. I don't think they're dead. I think they're so tied up in the web that they'll continue to be relevant, just not a huge moneymaker.
Okay, next question.
All right, so Hulu may or may not sell. What do you think about that?
Not surprised. Hulu might sell in the end, but I mean, I think the offers they got, the highest one was $4 billion from Google, but that included a lot of things like longer rights, exclusive content that they had not even put up on the auction block. The highest bid apparently came from Dish Network at $1.9 billion. Hulu, rumor has it, was upset or hurt or disappointed that they didn't get an offer for $2 billion for what they were offering. What they were offering was either 2 years or 5 years, nobody knows for sure, but a few years of content, some of it exclusive, the technology, the property. The bottom line is, I don't really see most of the buyers needing Hulu in the sense, Hulu is a distribution partner of ours. I love them and all, but I just think it doesn't make sense for a company like whether it's Google or even Yahoo or Dish Network to come and buy them, because those rights are almost going to evaporate. You are getting a shell. The big media companies are not going to just say, sure, we're going to give you all these rights exclusive for 10 years. The only thing that the sellers were interested in was basically selling it and then getting a bunch of fat licensing revenue each year, putting Netflix against maybe Amazon against whoever that owned Hulu. But realistically, I think it's a lot cheaper to duplicate what Hulu's done than actually just buy. But again,
become reliant on them.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Next question.
Let's go back to print media. Obviously, tablets are doing wonders for the magazine industry. We're still not sure whether or not it makes sense to charge for a subscription rather than go ad-supported. Do you actually subscribe to any magazines?
I used to subscribe to Business Week, Fortune, and The Economist, and now I just don't have time to read any of those. The only thing you're going to be surprised, the only magazine I still subscribe to is Vanity Fair. I subscribed to it initially as a gift to my mother-in-law, but now I find myself reading it because it's got the best reporting on Wall Street. They write the best articles on what's happening on Wall Street. Not that I care so much about the dramas in the Hamptons, although that's sometimes interesting too. But the reporting that they do in terms of what happens inside of companies, especially with the meltdown in New York over the past few years, it's better than anything I was finding on Fortune. But no, I think what you are probably going to see is newspapers are going to just continue to get destroyed. But I actually think magazines have a different shelf life. But the only reason why they're going to survive, those who survive, is because either you have a company like Hearst, who was always very conservative, so they're going to stick around because they're sitting like on $1 billion of cash, Or you're going to have a company like Condé Nast that really, really still likes the art form and the whole sort of aura of a magazine, and they've made some very tough decisions. I mean, in 2008, 2009, practically half of the contacts I had at the company were leaving because they were just, reducing costs. I think magazines will stick around, although they will continue to shrink. I think newspapers are in a much more sort of critical situation. Next.
All right, last question. Revision 3's Diggnation is going to get the plug pulled on it in December. What do you think? Did you ever watch the show? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think getting the pull plugged on it is unfair because I think Kevin Rose and his sidekick are probably just tired of doing this for almost 10 years. To be fair, I think Diggnation was like a revolutionary show. It launched in 2005. It was on the back of Diggnation that they were able to build the Revision 3 company, which surprisingly, to be fair, only in the context that when the economy went off the rails, I remember both Next New Networks and Revision 3, doubts about them sticking around, and I give a lot of credit to Jim Louderback at Revision 3 to keeping that train on the rails, and they will probably go on and survive and actually thrive and do very well. Now, what's just interesting about, I'd never really watched it, although I once in a while tuned in to get a sense of what the big deal was, and I think for the audience, it was probably very entertaining. More importantly, I think the idea of taking something like Dig and doing a show around it was genius. Perfectly candid here, for years I said, why are we not doing that with WatchMojo? If there's whether a good video that we did, just do a show talking about it. But we had bigger fish to fry. The thing that's really interesting, more taking a step back with Diggnation and Revision 3, is one of my main critiques of building shows around celebrities is that if the celebrity leaves, you're kind of screwed.
Right.
In this case, yeah, okay, after 10 years or whatever, 8 years, or no, maybe 6 years they're leaving. But to be fair, they did bide their time to build a show around, a whole company around it, right? So I think they get a lot of credit for not just having this really, really revolutionary show, but also understanding that that has a shelf life, that these guys are going to get old and they don't want to be sitting on a couch drinking beer and talking about whatever. So I give him a lot of credit for that. And again, very big fan of Jim Louderback. I think Kevin Rose has built his brand to be, very powerful, and I understand totally why he wants to go on and do other things. Email of the week. What's the email of the week?
A gentleman named Don asks, Ash, what do you think of Yahoo's new original video shows?
Yeah, Don asked that question actually on Quora. What do you think of Quora? You ever use Quora?
I played around with it. I really haven't given it enough attention, to tell you the truth.
We'll talk more about Quora on an upcoming show. Okay, so Yahoo, another distribution partner of ours. I think Yahoo, AOL, and Google's spending $100 million alone. I love the fact that these guys are pouring all this money into original web series. It obviously validates what we do. It is great for us because I think content sort of points to other content. I've not seen a lot of the shows, frankly, that the AOLs and the Yahoos do. I think the key for them is it will be like the ROI thing, right? If they're going to spend a lot of money, online video is still small, so I'm not sure if they're going to get the kind of return based on what they're spending to keep at it. But I generally speaking, I love seeing YouTube, AOL, Google, all these guys, Yahoo, pouring money into original video. It's like the best thing that could have happened for us. For the first few years, people thought we were crazy to produce content, and now it's like validation, almost vindication. Right. So I love it. Big fan. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up even.
I'd actually be worried a player as big as Yahoo wouldn't be able to kind of produce content on a really cost-effective, cheap model that smaller players can. Just because they're Yahoo, people who get involved are going to demand higher salaries. They're probably going to overspend.
But and I'm not talking about Yahoo now. Isn't it the other way? Like if you think about it, like Huffington Post and AOL can get away with not paying, let's say, writers because
of what they are.
Because of the size. So I think a lot of companies are going to. The bottom line is, and we can end on this, when I started the company, I was like, I don't want to be a production shop because any kid with a camera can sort of bid $1 less than you and get the mandate, and you're like, but we have such better quality, right? So that's frustrating. I wanted to build a media company around a brand, and all that. So the bottom line, I think for me personally is, if you are bidding, if Yahoo probably is not, I'm guessing, is probably not doing everything 100% in-house, right? They're probably outsourcing it, and a lot of people are going to give them really aggressive rates to say, look, Mom, what I'm doing, I'm working on this new project for Yahoo. So in that sense, I am not too worried about the cost, although I'm sure it costs a hell of a lot. Probably. That's been this week's show. Next week, join us on a special edition when we talk to Dragon's Den and Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary, we talk about his new book, Cold Hard Truth, as well as his thoughts on motivation, entrepreneurship, and money, which is, I think, the only thing that matters to him.